Guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of Two Fans, One Pod. I am your host, Alex. I got Brandon here with me. Week 1 is in the books. We went over it. Sunday went well. Fake Sunday. Went over stuff on Tuesday. I had an incredible time. Obviously, you and I, Brandon, were able to watch the games. What's even better is we got week 2 ahead of us here. And week 2, honestly, it has a lot of potential. We were looking at some of these matchups. We want to highlight 6 big ones that we really like the spread, or we really like the game in general, and want to give you feedback also on how our bets did last week, how we want to approach bets for this week. And to do that, I'm going to start off with a team that kind of felt like they were not favored on the field or by Vegas or whatever. Michigan is traveling over to Oklahoma. These are in no particular order. I know, I'm going to jump in. Go ahead and tilt your head down just a little bit for us. Let's see what you're wearing.
No. We will. You can continue. We'll get there.
Okay, there's a few things I want to go over for this game. First of all, obviously, Oklahoma favored. They're hosting. You would expect more than 4.5 in Norman. So very, very surprised by that. Though, if you look at the over-under 44.5, it tells you everything you need to know. They think this game is going to be a little bit more on the defensive side, and I think so too. Things that worry me about Michigan. I hope I'm pronouncing this name correctly. Jaysean Barham. I don't know what happened necessarily, like behind the scenes, but to me, as an outside party, now I did have money on the game, and I did have Michigan covering, so you can call me biased. But for me, outside looking in, it felt like that hit was not a targeting. And what's crazier is they reviewed it and they upheld it, and you know what? What's even worse is that Michigan went to appeal it. They couldn't do it. Came back, I think it was either yesterday or today, couldn't appeal it. So he's going to actually sit out that first half of the Oklahoma game. It feels like Vegas was kind of not on Michigan's side in the New Mexico game, and then it also felt like very similar leading up to this game here. Now they're already starting with a hindrance. New Mexico did get a lot of the calls. You can correct me if I'm wrong here. There was one play in particular where they were driving down the field and they got some nonsense catch on the sideline, and they hurried up, ran the next play before they could review the last play. So blatantly obvious. I mean, I don't know. Officiating, maybe not the best. One last thing I want to say about Michigan, 452 yards of offense is pretty impressive from a team that's known for defense. I just want to say that. That's all I want to say. Is it Bryce Underwood? I don't know. Maybe it's just the vibe. Maybe that's just the new identity for Michigan, is just to win on offense a little bit here. Not to say that they had a bad game defensively. It did seem like, again, a lot of the calls were in the favor of New Mexico. A few things I want to highlight for Oklahoma as well. I'm going to let you talk. And I can see you're foaming at the mouth here, brother. I see it. So I got Oklahoma. They allowed more than 4 yards per carry. Now, keep in mind, Oklahoma did not play the most elite of competition last week. They still allowed over 4 yards per carry. This is going against Michigan, which is going to be a run-first team. John Mateer also set the record for Oklahoma. He beat Baker Mayfield at first start at Oklahoma, most passing yards with 392. So really impressed with that. He was surprised himself when they told him about it. What's crazier is also they're starting with a -2 turnover margin, which against that competition, what that tells me is they did not play sound fundamental football. Have not watched the game. I need to go watch the game. They also had a good number of penalties. So I'm curious, are they going to play sound football? What I see here is I see a very good run team, a very good team against maybe not so good of a run defense, which was also part of the problem last year for Oklahoma. What also worries me is the amount of calls that Michigan did not get in their favor last week, and it continues on by losing one of their star linebackers for the first half of this game. I am not going to touch anything this game. That's my take. So I'm going to let Brandon take the reins, tell me exactly what you're taking and what you're feeling.
It's a tough game. I think it's the biggest game for both quarterbacks in their careers. John Mateer takes on probably his toughest opponent. Bryce Underwood, true freshman, his first career start on the road, is in Norman, Oklahoma. We know how passionate of a fan base they are. They're going to be loud. Both teams are really good, though. I think both run games are very strong. One thing that was really interesting was Jaden Ott only got 3 carries in Oklahoma's first game. Apparently he isn't 100%. They did have the true freshman out there who looked good. He was performing well, but I don't know if they're going to take more of a committee approach this coming game. The head coach did speak on it. He did say that he wasn't 100% yet, and they are working, him up to that 100% level. He did call him one of the most explosive players in college football. So who knows? Maybe he just wanted to keep him on the sidelines for that first week, let him fully recover, get to that point where, against Michigan, they can just let him run the rock and do his thing. Both quarterbacks are very good, though. Like, I think Bryce Underwood is a really good true freshman. I think he had as good a performance that a true freshman quarterback could have for his debut. And then John Mateer. I mean, you and me both talked about it. We think he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. We think that was probably the best transfer move this past offseason as far as like a pairing, especially bringing his offensive coordinator with him. That's a big deal. So the adjustment shouldn't be too bad for Mateer. What I do think this game comes down to sum it all up, I think it comes down to the quarterback play. I think both teams' run games are going to get going, and I think both defenses are very strong. I think Oklahoma has a better receiving core than Michigan, but there were some flashes there. I think that, the tight ends are strong for Michigan. Justice Haynes looked really good. And yeah, I really do think it comes down to the passing game for sure. I think Underwood needs to use his athleticism. I don't think he did that enough against New Mexico. Maybe he didn't need to. He made a lot of nice throws, though. I'm excited, obviously, as you can tell. One of the biggest things for Michigan, and you mentioned it as well, is Jayshon Barham will be out for the first half of the game. I think Rod Moore still is not healthy. He didn't play last week. I don't think he'll be playing this week. I'm going to just say it. Bryce Underwood is a generational quarterback. I know it's New Mexico, but I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I think it's showtime. Do you know what you said it? How many yards of offense? I know it was New Mexico, but how many yards of offense? It was
452. I mean, Michigan, that's not.
Bryce Underwood?
Yeah.
It literally, I think the total passing yards, we had the least in college football. I think the only teams that had it lower than us were the military academy schools or whatever. Bryce Underwood, I mean, he looks so good. I was just reading an article. They talking about how he's the first one in the building, last one to leave. Sherrod Moore apparently had to kick him out the building because he was in there working out at like 2 a.m. Like, dude, he's locked in. He's bought in. He's a pro. The way he plays and trains, I'm excited.
Okay, so
get this. I bet you didn't know this. Didn't know this. Do you know who played at Oklahoma? Who used to play at Oklahoma?
What do you mean?
Sherrod Moore was the guard at Oklahoma back in his heyday.
Really?
You think he's not pulling up there? Yeah. Oh, yeah. You think he's not pulling up there? Go Blue, baby. You think he's not pulling up there and they're going to run the ball? Like, they're going to run the ball. I think it's going to be a run-heavy game. With all that being said, I'm done with my soapbox. I'm going with the under, and I'm going Michigan money line. Those are my 2 picks for that game. Under and Michigan money line.
I like the under.
The QB play.
I like the under. I like the under a lot, actually. I might ride that with you. We'll see. Game time.
I feel like it's kind of a square play. I do want to see where all the money's at and everything. We saw Vegas. Yeah, dude, the game last week, the calls were disgusting. The officiating was awful. Like, you and me were watching in disbelief. Like, Michigan did every single offensive drive. They looked fantastic.
Yeah.
I know it was New Mexico, but they looked good every single offensive drive. The defense was just it was bullshit. That shit was so annoying. But
it did feel like, I don't know, the officiating did feel like in the favor of New Mexico more often than not. And that's all we're going to say. And we're going to be very cordial about it, very respectful. Respect to the college football officiating crews. But figure your shit out. Let's head over to a game that has... I have a little more interest in, just because it's one quarterback, but they're both running quarterbacks. Okay.
Yes.
This game, it's a 3:30 kickoff. Kansas at Missouri. Now, I did not realize how intense of a rivalry this game is. I looked it up. I looked a little bit into this game. Out of conference, this game actually will feel very much in conference. I'm looking forward to this a lot, and the over-under is absurd, so I'm hoping for the shootout that Vegas thinks is going to happen. Now, Missouri has a lot of points. They have a ton of points. It's Jalen Daniels versus Beau Pribula. Beau Pribula, famously the backup quarterback to Drew Aller last season. That whole drama towards the end of the year where he didn't end up playing in the playoffs because he had to declare, ineligible in order to go to the transfer portal. I don't know. I mean, The rush game looked on point. Bo Buello's passing was on point. I think they had either at or over 6 yards per carry on the day. Granted, again, we're not talking about the most elite competition.
Opponent.
Now,
Yeah.
Kansas also has an additional game of experience. They have 2 games now. This is going to be their third because they participated in week 0. Now, how does that play a role? For me, the way I'm interpreting that is Jalen Daniels has X number of more snaps with his new offense that he's running. Maybe things are ever so slightly, nominally, adjusted in their favor on tempo and flow. You have more of a rhythm with your offensive line, obviously, as the snaps develop. So maybe Kansas has a little bit of an edge. The 6.5 makes me really nervous. It makes me so nervous. I have a question mark next to my pick here. I want to take the over. 51.5. I just want to take the over because I know both these quarterbacks are going to end up using their legs, and neither defense is necessarily good against running quarterbacks. So I think that's the play. I'm going to take the over. Now, I have a question mark on it. Right now, it's at 51.5. Maybe I wait until it goes closer to 50. I don't know. But for now, that's what I'm riding. What do you see for this game, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. 2 dual threat quarterbacks. Jalen Daniels maybe is more prolific than Bo. Maybe he's more of like a game changer than Bo. But both of them can use their legs. Both of them can change the game with their legs. I'm also feeling the over. I know that the Kansas linebackers are banged up as well. So there's some injuries on the defensive side for Kansas. A defense that already wasn't the best to begin with. Missouri has a lot of talent on the offensive side. They got Ahmad Hardy now. They have Eric Coleman, I believe. I might be mispronouncing or mixing up his name with someone else, but their wide receiver room is stacked too. But I think Kansas can compete. And like you were saying, they have that extra game of experience in them, which I think helps a lot. Missouri just got their week 1 dub out the way. I think this game will be close. I think Kansas could cover. Just because Missouri has only played such a low-tier opponent in that week 1. They got their butterflies out, but they really haven't faced an opponent as good as Kansas yet. Granted, I mean, it is Missouri, and they're a good program.
It's a rivalry.
Yeah.
I mean, points on the
It's
road,
a rivalry.
that many points on the road in a rivalry, maybe it's worth taking.
Yeah. I do like the over as well. But you know what? I'm deciding right now. I'm going to take Kansas spread.
Done deal. You're committing to it? We're both riding the
Lock it
over.
in.
So, speaking of road rivalries that have potential on the spread, Iowa is visiting Iowa State this weekend. It's a noon kickoff. I hate that that's the case for this game. This game has been noon kickoff for the past 3 or 4 years, I feel like.
Yeah.
Over under slightly higher than what I was expecting. 41.5 is actually a lot for this game, all things considered. Iowa State also is home favored. I want you to go first on this one. I want to see what your take is before I say anything.
I'm going to start off with kind of where we ended with the last one, which is the number of games each team has put in. Iowa State is on their 3rd game of the season. They had a really tough battle week 0 against Kansas State in Dublin. Rocco Beck looked really good. And I just think they're in form. I think they're ready to go. And now you get to go play your rival. So I'm sure that team is hyped. I'm sure practice this week has been, I'm sure everybody's locked in. The focus is there and all that. Iowa, their first game was against Albany, not as tough of an opponent as the Kansas State game. But Iowa's a really good team. Something that Iowa also has on their side of the momentum is Kirk Ferentz is 1 win away from the most wins in Big Ten history. But getting it against Iowa State, I'm sure that would be sweet. They have 6 straight wins against Iowa State, I believe. Mark Gronowski is good too. He's a guy that has a lot of experience as well. But with all that being said, I'm just feeling the Iowa State juice a little bit. I really like Rocco Becht. He had 1 incompletion last week. Granted, it was against the FCS school, but that's still, he's slung the ball a decent amount. Yeah, I like Iowa State. I'm probably going with this spread.
Rocco Becht he's great. He's so good. He's the reason why I liked him in week 0. Here's what worries me about Iowa State. They did beat Kansas State in Dublin.
Yes.
Kansas State then went on to play University of North Dakota and win by a field goal. So
yes.
I don't know if going to the wire, because it is a conference game I add a little bit more respect. Also, it's opening weekend. Also, it's in Dublin. All that stuff plays in to me when I view this. But again, Kansas State, I don't think they're necessarily that great. Again, North Dakota, also one of the better teams in FCS too. Iowa State is currently ranked. Iowa State is currently favored by 3.5, and they're also playing at home. And also, Rocco Becht is riding the problem is that this is a rivalry game. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I could see this game ending 15-14. I could very easily see that happening. And guess what? Iowa State still wins, but they win by a point. I see that happening. I also see 15-14 in favor of Iowa, too. This game comes down to defense. Mark Gronowski could throw for 20 yards, and who cares? You know what's even crazy? Kamari Moulton is not probable to play. He's that star running back on Iowa team. He was supposed to be the next guy up. So every sign right now is pointing to put money on Iowa State, which is why you just said, let's put money on Iowa State. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to take Iowa plus 3.5 on the road. You and I both know it's not enough points. Iowa State should be favored by more. You know that. And the reason why Vegas did this is because they know this is an intense rivalry. This is a defensive rivalry.
The last 7 of these matchups have been decided by 10 points or less.
Well, that's what I'm saying. 10 points for sure. I'm sure.
10 points, and that's a bigger number than I thought, honestly. Yeah. But yeah, it still goes to show. Like, I'm sure there's some 2-3 point wins in there. But yeah,
that's what I mean. And even last year, I think the final score was 2017 or. I don't know. I just think right now every sign is pointing to put money on Iowa State. We have to take Iowa for that reason. We have to. But if you want to, feel free to. That's my 2 cents on it. All right, let's head over to another game that we can't put money on, unfortunately. Diego Pavia heading into Blacksburg to play Tech.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
And the Hokies. I feel like this game got a little disrespected on the over-under. It's at 47.5. I think we don't remember how good Diego Pavia can be and how explosive Kyron Drones' potential can be as well. These 2 quarterbacks, first of all, Virginia Tech, in my opinion, did a very poor job in the trenches in setting up their run game. They did not get the run game going, and then they ended up going down too fast. One really bad mistake by Kyron Drones in the red zone. We don't have to go over that. We did that in an earlier pod. So he needs to tidy up those mistakes. But Kyron Drones has a lot of potential, and this Tech team can get really good. They just need to get a couple of these wins early. And you have home. Now, Vegas only gave them 1.5 points. That tells me that they still think Vandy has a little bit of an edge on them. That's what that tells me because you got the home field advantage. Diego Pavia, how is he going to win? He might need to use his legs here. Lenora Sellers was able to slice and dice Virginia Tech. It was not over the air. There was a couple of RPOs where they got big chunks, but it was with his legs, especially on that first drive. So I think if Diego Pavia wants to win, he needs to run a little bit. He did have 8 carries last game for 44 yards, so I'm sure he just needs to get that mentality going. They also looked really good. The defense looked really good. It was an FCS opponent. I don't remember which one off the top of my head, but they held the numbers tight. They have top 20 numbers right now in FBS. Obviously, only 1 week in the books. So I still think Tech has the edge here. Because the points are so low, 1.5 points at home. I have to take Tech. Homebred. We're Virginia boys. We have to take the home favorite. But I don't know. Diego Pavia can cause a ruckus here. I'm still taking Tech minus 1.5. Tell me what you see.
Yeah. Vandy actually won this game last year, so I think Tech has definitely got some revenge on their mind. I think they played week 1 of last year, and Vandy ended up winning. Diego Pavia is so fun to watch. I'm a big fan. I wish he wasn't playing Tech right after that, loss against South Carolina, because this is their home opener. That last game was in a neutral site. It was against a really tough opponent. You know what I'm saying? You were able to get those first hits in. You were able to, wipe the dust off from the whole offseason or knock the rust off or whatever and get the gears turning again. But I don't know. This is a tough one. I think Virginia Tech did show the ability to compete You know what I mean? Even though they lost against South Carolina, like you were saying, there were like some moments there where they were holding them, they were stopping them. It was a competitive game for a second there. Kyron Drones, we just need to see a little bit more from him. I wish he had a better showing than he did, because I really do enjoy watching him, and I enjoy watching his team. Like you were saying, they're the homebred team. Yeah, we're going Tech spread.
I think we have to.
It's not even a question. No, because you know what? And I shouldn't say this after I just made the pick. Brent Pry, he's on the hot seat. Like it's clear. Like if he loses,
he's on year 5 with the program now.
You know what his record is in one-score games?
What?
1-12.
Yikers.
Yeah, if you're not able to close out those one-score games, I mean that is a big question mark. But I think he has a fire up his ass. I mean he's got to. You know, you're going to play in front of your home crowd. You know, come on, it's all or nothing right here. I like Tech. I like Drones in this.
Yeah, I'm treating this like my Super Bowl. I mean, if you're at that point with your program, you need to treat every game like this is your Super Bowl. That's what you need to do.
He needs to be.
I hate on James Franklin a lot, but when he first came to Penn State, he was like, "We're going one game at a time. This is our number one opponent. This is all we care about this week. We don't look 2 weeks in ahead. You know, we don't think about what's our final going to be on the end of the season. You know, and I like that mentality." I'm going to go to a game that has a very, very suspicious line. Duke is hosting number 11 Illinois and Luke Altmaier. Brett Bielema, I should say, because that's who's really coming to town. The line is at +3 for Duke at home. So they didn't get the points. I'm wondering why this line was so low. And I took a step back. Illinois has done a really good job of building a decent offense while still maintaining a sound defense year after year that they've always had. And now this year they have a great offense. They have a good quarterback who's experienced with the offense as well. Duke, where is Duke at right now? Manny Diaz is entering his second year now with the program. Mm-hmm. Transferred Darian Mensah from Tulane, who had kind of a rocky first go. Some solid flashes of talent, but kind of a rocky first go. They're running into the same rushing problems as well as I saw last year, where they just couldn't get their rush game going. Yeah, I was taking a second look at the rushing numbers, though. And if you take away that 63-yard run that the backup running back, third-string running back had late in the fourth quarter, I mean, Elon held them to under 4 yards per carry. I don't know. They're also starting with a turnover margin of -1 on the season. Duke it's another one of those scenarios where one team is entirely on the upswing and one team kind of is supposed to be on the upswing but is kind of falling flat a little bit. They didn't look as good as they should have. As much hype as Manny Diaz had. What am I putting money on? I'm putting money on the fact that Illinois is a little bit more hyped than we think that they are. I like Duke a lot here. I think 3 points is Vegas also trying to tell us that this game is a lot closer than we think it's going to be, and it's a good reminder of that. So I'm gonna ride with Vegas. That's what I'm gonna do. I think I still love Darian Mensah. We talked about him in the offseason. I think he has the potential to be able to beat this team. I don't know. What do you think?
So one thing that I learned was the last time Altmaier played a Manny Diaz defense. Do you know where he was?
At Penn State, most likely.
And I know that Penn State's a better program or whatever than Illinois and all that. It's a tough program in general, regardless of who the D coordinator is. But I believe that game he had like 2 turnovers. He did not play well at all. Duke got better. I know they had a rough first game. Like you were saying, everybody was expecting them to be on that steady incline. It's week 1. I'm not going to put too much emphasis on it. I know they played a not too tough opponent in Elon, but I'm a big fan of Mensah still. I like Manny Diaz. I think they're a strong program. And yeah, I mean, even though Illinois kind of has that continuity, I think this is going to be their first test, this season. I don't think they had a tough opponent last week, if I'm not mistaken. So going into this game in, Duke's house, I think it's going to be a tough one. I like the Duke spread as well.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick. It might be one of our slams of the week. That's what it's
I
starting
think
to feel
so.
like.
Yeah.
Okay, also a team that I don't think fell flat necessarily, still had a ton of offense, just also allowed a ton of offense on defense. Baylor at SMU. So I understand this is a in-state, it might not be a rivalry, but I'm sure that there's some bad blood between these two teams. It's a noon kickoff. Over-under is absurd at a 64.5, whopping 64.5. I don't know. Baylor, I had taken Baylor against Auburn at home because I really believed that Sawyer Robertson would be able to carry them. And for the record, Sawyer Robertson had an insane day passing, 400 passing yards. I mean, they had to rely on him so bad, and they had to completely ditch the run game because they were basically down the entire game. And they couldn't stop Auburn on defense. That's what I noticed. It was just 38 points of non-stop onslaught of points. So the defense looked porous. There's no other way to put it. They look bad on the ground. They look bad in the air, especially bad on the ground. They lost both sides of the line of scrimmage. 2.5 points is not enough here, I don't feel like. Kevin Jennings at home. SMU also didn't look great on defense in particular. They allowed 351 yards. They had 8 penalties for 84 yards. They didn't look sound. And again, it could be just week one jitters, whatever, shaking off the cobwebs from the offseason. But I'm going to still ride SMU. This is too good of a team, too much on the upswing.
Baylor SMU is an interesting one. Baylor's an interesting one because I also thought they were going to keep it closer with Auburn, but I believe in the red zone, they might have turned the ball over twice. I know it was once, like inside the 15-yard line. So they turned, so it was at least one time. So they lost points there, and they also gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown. So I think Baylor kind of feels like they were competing the whole game, which they were. It was just the sloppy play and execution and giving up those big plays where it kind of can just kill your momentum and everything within the game. And I think they're pissed off. I think SMU will be or should be an easier opponent than Auburn. So I think Baylor's going to come out with that intensity. I like the Baylor spread for this one. Kevin Jennings is a talent. You know how I feel about him. You know how I feel about SMU. But I don't know. I'm taking Baylor.
It's a shootout. It's a shootout.
It's going to be a shootout. The total is just way too high. That's why I'm not even going to bother. But I think Baylor can hang, and Baylor will hang.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right, let's rip through some, just a few more. Those were the 6 big ones we had for you guys. Let's rip through a few more here, just to give you guys some a tease on what's going to happen this weekend. Arizona State at Mississippi State. Line is weird, a little bit janky. Sam Leavitt, I don't think necessarily had the best game of his career, and he also admitted it too in a post-game interview. I remember he said that, like, yeah, I didn't have my best game, but I'm wondering, like, does Arizona State struggle this season? 6.5 is really low for this game. What do you think?
Yeah, their coach has been kind of talking about that too. He's saying that he's not really happy with the progress or just how they're performing so far this offseason. Who knows? Maybe it's just to juice them up some more. Maybe it's so that his players don't buy into the hype because they had a lot of hype going into the season. Jordan Tyson did look really good. Sam Leavitt, he struggled, but he was able to connect with his number one guy. I believe he got targeted like 17 times, which is interesting because against a shitty team or one of those FCS schools or those week one opponents, wouldn't you expect to kind of dish it out more, get the rest of the guys involved? So I thought that was interesting. ASU last year, they dominated in the run game. So we'll see if they're able to do that and continue that after losing Scadaboo. This is a tough one.
I mean,
I want to take the under on this
Scadaboo
one.
was
yeah,
the team.
We both know.
He finished 5th in Heisman voting. I mean, you lost a major player on your team. So I maybe it's worse than we thought. That's I don't know. I'm leaning Mississippi State here, plus 6.5. Heading over to JMU at Louisville, another game. Unfortunately, we cannot put money on. Louisville's at 14.5, favored at home.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird spread considering JMU is freshly out of the FCS into the FBS here, and they're visiting on the road. Tell me, what do you think is going on with the line?
This is an interesting game. It's a sneaky game. If you look at the top 25 rankings, both teams got some votes to be in the top 25. So the expectation potentially is the winner of this game might get, bumped into the top 25. We'll have to wait and see. Both teams have good quarterbacks. Louisville has their new guy, Miller Moss. JMU has Alonzo Barnett coming back, who is a very good quarterback. And then both teams have a really good backfield. Isaac Brown in the Louisville backfield, and in the JMU backfield, they have Petaway, who was a 1,000-yard rushing running back last year. I believe he had a 1,000-yard season. Yeah. But I feel like Louisville's offensive line didn't look too good. JMU also has issues pressuring the quarterback. JMU actually won the turnover battle in the first 20 games of the first 10 games of last year. So I feel like it's going to be a back and forth game. I personally would take the JMU spread. It's at JMU. I think the crowd's going to be hyped. Even though it's a smaller school, that fan base is definitely passionate. I feel like, yeah, I like the JMU spread here.
It's, I'm not going to touch the game. It's tough for me to put money against Miller Moss. I'm such a Miller Moss fan.
I am too, dude. He's such a slinger.
Excuse me. No, that last game, he should have covered. I mean, they had these weird, really, really janky tipped passes and one ended up going to be a pick six, which completely threw him off. And then right afterward, next possession, he throws a pick off of a tip in the most unbelievable fashion. So super unfortunate. Love Miller Moss. He is in a much better system. Very happy for him. And lastly, this is my janky line of the week. Kentucky plus 8.5 hosting Ole Miss. Austin Simmons coming to town. Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, Kentucky was the one that came into town and kind of get an early spoil on their season, right? I looked into it. The last 6 matchups has been 1 score or less. Out of 5 out of the 6 times. I'm wondering if 8.5 for me is it feels really, really locked. I don't even want to look into the statistics. Austin Simmons, obviously, it's his first road start. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'd be able to take Ole Miss minus 8.5 here. I think Kentucky plus 8 is the move. I don't know. What do you think?
It's tough. They're both SEC schools. Kentucky can compete. They always do every single year. I think their defense is stronger than people give them credit for. But you know how I feel about Ole Miss. You know how I feel about Austin Simmons. You know how I feel about Lane Kiffin.
We're against each other on this one?
Yeah, I think we are, buddy. I'm gonna have to go the Ole Miss spread on this one.
I literally can't wait. What's kickoff for this one? All right, guys, we gave you all the free money you could possibly imagine. So everything. No one's allowed to be angry. We did pretty good last week. I'd say we did pretty good last week. We got a couple of rave reviews also on some of our shorts. Some people really interested in our takes. We love you guys. You guys know that.
Keep it up.
No, a lot of Notre Dame fans actually showing up out of the woodwork a little bit. It feels like some Brian Kelly fans also.
Yeah.
What was the final? Yeah, what was that final score of that Natty game that they went to against Alabama? No, it's honestly please continue commenting, liking our videos, guys. We love hearing from you. I think we're gonna have a very spicy Sunday where we're both gonna get a nice reality check because of how good of a gambling weekend last week was. But we'll share it with y'all first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning Sunday. I want to see everybody here bright and early. Okay. Brandon, any last thoughts before we let him go?
Go Blue! Let's go, man. Bryce Underwood, generational. It's showtime. We're going to Norman, Oklahoma. And we're taking them down. End the recording.
Oh, my God.
Let's go.
Let's go. See you guys.